So we're good to go. Let's see, Steph, it's 2 weeks out, two plus.
Yeah, two minus two as of this past Saturday.
Okay, that's right. That's right. Good. So everybody should have had their longest hike, their longest trek, and block of training put together by now. And the most important thing you can do in the next 2 weeks will be the hardest thing for a lot of people to do, and that is rest and really taper off of your workout. I'm a big believer. Some people say don't do anything at all the week before. I think you got to keep moving and keep those muscles, but it's the best time now to just make sure you have all your gear, all your nutrition, all that stuff dialed in. And hopefully you had the nutrition and hydration dialed in way back when you were doing some of those longer endurance efforts. If I did anything this week, I would look at, do I need to get in to see a chiropractor and a massage? And I really do think that that should be done this week, not next week. You really don't mess with anything next week. Rule of thumb is at this point, all you can do is hurt your effort by trying to do more. So it's really a lot of rest and making sure you're getting rest by not overdoing. I mean, you can still get out and do some easy trekking or an easy mountain bike ride. When I say that, I mean you're not getting your heart rate up. You're not, you don't want to take a chance on trying the trail, downhill, flow trail you never done before. So you want to take care of yourself. Or an easy paddle, but not anything over strenuous. And it's not about putting hours in. It's probably more about making sure all your gear's working while you're out there. And then again, that type of rest, and then the rest we get when we put our head down on our pillow. So the next 2 weeks is a good time to make sure you're getting that, whether you're 7 hours or you're a 9 hour sleep person, to make sure you're doing that and doing that on a steady basis. So you should always be doing. I'm a big believer in. I set my alarm every morning at 6:30, no matter what. And I don't have anything till 10. I'm still going to try and get up at 6:30 in the morning. So you get that nice steady biorhythm in your sleep pattern. And then nutrition, you should have been able to look at, what works for you, how many carbohydrates you're going to need per hour. You're talking about 8 hours. You get to eat a lot that day. So making sure that you're getting that, whether it's at least 50 to 75 grams of protein. I'm sorry, not protein, but of carbohydrates. You take a little bit of protein in there, but hopefully you've dialed in what you do well with. For instance, I know that there are certain things that I don't do very well with, like shot blocks are great. And if you tolerate those over time, that's fine. And I think we talked about nutrition and varying it. I found that if I do too many of the shot blocks, I get a little gastritis. So I usually save those for the end of my endurance races. I do 6 hours and I've done the Mohican 100. But I'm going to do that more towards the end when I need a little bit of that kick of that caffeine too. And then hydration, obviously, getting that dialed in, because of the two things that'll take you, slow you down the most, I think, would be the hydration and nutrition.
So I've got a few questions. First, okay, so basically just recreational sort of hiking, working out, do some fun stuff the next couple of weeks, get your gear in order. What about, so at what point before the race should they just completely, is it going to hurt anything for them to be hiking or biking Thursday and Friday right before the race? Or are there like a certain number of days right before that you say, just don't even use your calories?
Yeah, I would say some people do. And I've seen where some programs are like, don't do anything, but I think more and more it's leaning towards you need to get some, what we'd call active recovery. So moving around a little bit, you don't just want to sit. That would be the big thing. So if you get down there, let's say the race is it Saturday? It's Saturday. You get down there, you're probably going to get down there Thursday or Friday. I would go hike around a little bit just to make sure you know where the start line is, stuff like that, and be familiar with that. So you get those race jitter, the nerves, the race nerves or jitters out. So if I get there the day before, I'm going to do a little bit of a lay of the land. Okay, so here's, this is a little bit different. You guys are covering a lot of ground. And obviously, if I'm doing a 63-mile mountain bike race, I'm not going to go check out the whole race course, but I at least want to go to the start line and finish line, familiarize myself with that. Maybe if it's possible to drive to any of the transition points, then you get it in your head too. Like, okay, now I know where that is. I'm good. And if anything, on Friday, I would move around a little bit. I wouldn't just sit.
Okay. And then what about?
The key is a lot of people kind of think, oh my gosh, I got to do more. And you really, at this point, you're not going to get yourself trained anymore. You can only hurt yourself. So that's why I say, if you do anything, make it nice and easy to dial in equipment.
Okay. And so then next question is, what about your meals the last couple of days before? I know a lot of the old myths about carbo loading have been kind of debunked. What's the latest advice that you have for that last couple of days?
Yeah, I think the tough part with, you have to do, if you want to quote unquote do carbo loading, that has to be done to such perfection, most people don't do it right. So it's really just eating that same balanced, nutritionally filled meals that you've been doing. And if you want to lean more towards carbs, that's great. You'll store them up. But the key to the endurance racing is really to refill those carbs during the race. And again, by now, hopefully you know what you tolerate each hour. If you've been out there for more than an hour, you needed some carbs. Anything over an hour, you need to start to refuel. So, whether it's, at least 50 grams. And if you look on any package, it'll tell you there's 50 grams of carbs in here. Usually on most bars, it's about 26. So I'll think, okay, I know I got to eat 2 of those an hour. If I'm going to be out for 6 to 10 hours, whatever. So for you all, 8 hours. So kind of get that. And whatever you do, make sure what you take with you are things that you've already eaten and you know that you can digest easily. That's the other advice I'd give to people that, now if you run out of something and your teammate has something and it's pretty simple, basic carbohydrate, go ahead. I'd rather you have that than bomb. But it's a good idea to know what does well with your body, what your gut's used to, basically.
Gotcha.
But if it's something, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and have those extra carbs, but I'd also have the balanced vegetables and the protein with it.
Gotcha. Okay. I used to find that sushi was a great pre-race meal back when I was running.
Yeah.
My pre-race meal Friday nights would always be, I would splurge at the local Japanese steakhouse and have sushi.
Yeah.
With lots of rice. I felt like it was a good balance.
Yeah. Well, no, a lot of the recipes are rice-based recipes. If you want to make your own, your own little nutrition snacks, most of the first ingredient in those are pack that rice in. It's funny. And I can see why, because I have a sick dog, so I've been making rice the last couple weeks. And I'm like, oh my God, once you put that in the refrigerator, you can't get it apart. So no, that's great. And if, that's a good time to stay away from, actually the night before, probably a lot of fiber. So go ahead and eat the white pasta. Don't eat actually tonight we had some pasta based that was just greens. So I probably wouldn't eat that the night before a race. And I certainly wouldn't eat anything that I haven't eaten before, the night or 2 before the race. Because the last thing I want to do is upset my digestive system.
Yeah, got it.
So where I might normally eat a lot of fiber, fruits and vegetables and stuff, I would kind of back off some of that and eat things that I know that, my stomach does really well with and are easier to digest. Does that kind of make sense?
Good deal. Yeah. Yeah. Pasta, potatoes, mashed potatoes, macaroni and cheese. My body does very well with those.
Yeah, see? Yeah. Yeah. So
that's how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's the big thing, is to make sure that it's a lot of foods that your digestive system's used to. So I'm not a real picky eater, but I eat a lot of the same things week in and week out. So if I go down to Carter Cave and say, oh, I'm going to hit the buffet, and, I guess there isn't a buffet right now, but you know what I'm saying? If I start eating, fried whatever, I'm going to be like, oh, my stomach wouldn't do well with that. So that's what I would say keep in mind.
Sure.
And then, I have, friends that she sets her alarm to tell her when, I think we've even talked about this, when to drink and eat. So nobody ever has to remind me when to eat. I'm eating all the time. But, it's also good to have some of those carbs really handy. So, a lot of my biking shorts have pockets here. So I don't even have to reach way to the backpack. Or if your pack has the pockets here, make sure you keep those handy so you don't get over. Because once you go past that point, it's hard to come back. So I'd almost rather see you on the too many carbs than not enough carbs.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really sound advice. I've been past the point before, and it's not a pretty place to be.
And a lot of times what I'll do is have the packages already open, because that's the other thing, if you're looking at time, I've used tricks with like the honey stinger waffles, where I had like 4 of them in my pocket, and I had little cutout paper plates in between, so it kept them from falling apart. So there's some tricks you can do. And the goos and gels, those especially, the goo would be hard to open ahead of time, but like, I don't know why the shot blocks, those are the hardest thing on earth to open up. I mean, you have to use your teeth, and I'm trying not to use, put stuff in my mouth during this COVID. So, but go ahead and use the scissors, cut them so they're ready to go. They're not gonna, they're not gonna dry out that fast. I've eaten them many times when they've been open in my car or in my backpack for a while. Yeah, and then as far as the weight training, I think I mentioned it during the last one, that really, you can get one in this week, but I really would take off of that next week. I'd really rest the legs up on that. I'd go ahead and do all the stretches, especially the hip flexors and the hamstrings, and really open the chest up, and, any of them that we, have gone through on any of those videos, go ahead and stretch out a lot. We need to do this a lot. We should be, hopefully everybody's been, using their foam rollers or getting massages now that we're able to again. I get knots in my shoulders and backs, and I'll use this for my piriformis. It's, for my days of softball, but I'll also have a lacrosse ball that I'll use in the back of my shoulders. Matter of fact, last night I did, because I was out of Brown County, like 35 miles over the weekend, and my shoulder went, I'm stuck. So, use a lot of those tools. This one's great. And make sure you bring them with you because you're traveling. So that's why I like the stick, because that you can get just about anywhere on you, and it's easy to put in my, in my bin. I don't really take luggage anymore. I take a bin of stuff. I camped one night, so I just threw everything in the bin. But that's why I like the half little thing. So take that with you in case you need to roll it out. And then, make sure if you are having trouble with some of those, with knees or whatever that you need to keep on the next 2 weeks, if you need to keep icing it down, or, these things are great. So this is, we'll throw in the microwave, or you can freeze it. So for me, it's always a shoulder issue, well, plus others, but I can put that on and, get some heat on some of those muscles, and then ice when I need it too. I also have a hot tub. I usually get in that if I'm here, but those are some things you can use if you don't too, just to keep it going. And again, if anybody's having any issues like pain wise, reach out to a PT and ask them. I mean, I'd be happy to give you my 2 cents worth, but I'm a strength conditioning person, not a PT.
What do you think about, what are your thoughts about like compression sleeves, calf sleeves during races, kinesio taping? Are those things that, I mean, any of those things if you haven't tried on before, but I'm just thinking about the person who, maybe in the last week before the race suddenly realizes they're having a twinge here or a pain there. Sure. Is that something you'd suggest they try?
Yeah, you can. The kinesio tape especially has been found to be very good as long as you have somebody that knows what they're doing. So, you you know, where that tape exactly is makes a big difference in how it's put on, what angle. But yeah, that has been found to be very helpful. And I would suggest if you're having some issues, to try that. The compression sleeves can help, but you have to be careful. It's going to be hot, so you're adding, you know, extra. So a lot of times the compression sleeves could be, wear those a week before to kind of help, and then after the race, and so would also help. But since it's in August, I'd be careful wearing anything more than you need, because it's more than likely we're going to be, 85, 90 degrees, right?
Right. Yeah. It might be a good option though, for this race if someone wanted to do sort of longer shorts and then the compression sleeves or socks at the bottom rather than long pants. That could potentially be an option for them for this race, because Carter Caves is the vegetation is not really heavy. So that might be a good option for them if they didn't want to wear long pants. It might actually be cooler.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying don't. I'm just saying be wary of, then you're adding more clothes to you in August.
Yeah.
Because I actually have worn a compression sleeve during a 6-hour race because my elbow blew up on me. But I would say it did add a little bit to that, to me heating up. And again, it was probably in July, a couple years ago. Maybe 6 years ago, something like that.
A couple 6 years ago.
But yeah, I mean, or if you're somebody that, needs that compression sleeve anyhow, because they have been found to help with, recovery, especially.